do I mean by a powerful presentation? I think it's probably best to state it this way. I want you to think about a time where you've been at an event, you've seen a speaker come in, and a lot of times these speakers come in and they have a lot of letters behind their name, they have a lot of clout, they've had a lot of success, but that doesn't always translate to being a great presenter. Just because you're great at what you do, or you make a lot of money, or you have a lot of designations, it doesn't really translate to the front of the room. And so when I talk about the difference between a guest speaker and a business speaker, the guest speakers show up with the intention of impressing the room, with the intention of, hey, it's all about me. Their presentation is usually quite selfish, and I don't mean selfish in that they're self-absorbed. I mean, they're going to talk about what they want to talk about. They don't take into account the audience or the theme. They don't pay attention to the nuances of the structure of their talk, or how is it or if it's making an impact at all. So we're going to talk now about how do we create these powerful presentations and making sure that when you do get that opportunity that you're prepared. And just as importantly, we want, if you got the call today to say, hey, could you come in and speak tomorrow? We want to give you the tools so that you don't have to freak out, that you have a go-to formula every single time. I'll give you a quick example. I've shared the stories a lot in my trainings. A couple years ago, I was invited to go to the inauguration of a city manager. And this was a very, very successful person that was secured for the position. In fact, he was recruited from across the country and brought in. And at this particular inauguration, they had a big theater. There were several hundred people there, and they kind of did their normal intro stuff, and it was a nice event, kind of moving along. But I was kind of looking at these nuances of the presentation that was about to come up. And the thing that I noticed was there was a very small stage, and there was a very large screen behind the person. And I wasn't sure how this thing was going to happen. Well, sure enough, they introduced this gentleman, and he's a big man. He's probably 6'3", 6'4", and they have him walk up onto what essentially was a perch. I mean, he barely could stand on this thing. And if you can imagine him standing on a perch with a massive screen behind him, he has nowhere to move, and then when the projector comes on, it's square in his eyes. In fact, his shadow is cast across the screen in the back. So now he's kind of having to duck out of the way, and I don't know if you've ever been caught in the light of a projector, but you kind of go blind for a few minutes. It's pretty brutal, right? So this guy's getting up there, and he's trying to warm up the crowd a little bit. You can tell he's a great speaker, but you can tell he's definitely off his game because of the element that he's in. Well, make a long story short, as he progresses through the talk, one of the things we notice is the presentation. He's relying upon the PowerPoint a lot. There's tons of content up there. He's kind of lost his place. He can't move around. You can tell he's physically uncomfortable, and he ends up actually having to turn around and read the screen behind him. Yeah, exactly. And then it got so bad that later in the talk, it was about a 45-minute talk, by the end of the talk, he was having people in the audience read the bullet points. And here's the point. Tremendously successful person, won the job, probably a great speaker, but he was just set up for success. And part of that was on him with the preparation, and part of that was on the people who brought him in, who didn't set up the facility accordingly. So we're going to talk about these nuances and how to avoid those types of situations. The most important thing, though, as we go through this process, is I want you to remember this equation. Impact equals income. Impact equals income. Some of you are starting this series and you're a little concerned that you're not a great speaker, or that you're polished, or that your PowerPoints aren't pretty enough. And you know what? That stuff's important, but not nearly as important as making impact. And what I'm going to share with you are the subtle ways that a business speaker and professional speakers, by design, create impact through their presentations. And I don't care if you're talking about taxes or life insurance or buying your first home or fixing your credit or how to lose weight. It doesn't matter to me. We need to create impact. When we create impact, the income will definitely follow.